Happy New Year, everybody. Samori Benjamin back here in the studio here. WHCR Sports broadcasting from our beautiful Harlem studios in New York City, from the home of the last New York City collegiate basketball team to win the national championship. Folks, it is 2026. The Knicks are on a 3-game losing streak. They have lost the last 2 games at home, the last 2 nights. They still are the second best team record-wise in the Eastern Conference. We all want to believe they are the best team in the Eastern Conference. That remains to be seen. A lot of basketball left to be played. Tomorrow night, the Knicks travel to Detroit to face a Detroit Pistons team who they played in the first round last year, beat in 6 games, a physical series. These 2 teams have not met yet this season. They get it on tomorrow night. And the Knicks right now, folks, I think that their biggest threat they just lost to last night, the Philadelphia 76ers, who for the second time in 2 weeks have come into Madison Square Garden, a place the Knicks have played very well this season, and they've beaten the Knicks now twice in the last 2 weeks. Both of the games for the Knicks were the second game of a back-to-back. Philadelphia came into both of those games rested without playing the previous night. Philadelphia, the first time, had not played in about 5 days before the matchup against the Knicks. And last night, the Knicks, Philadelphia played 2 nights ago. They beat Dallas. So they had 1 night off going into last night's game. The Knicks, look, if you're a Knicks fan, if you have been following the Knicks, then you have to feel good about where they are this season. And really, when I look at the Eastern Conference, the Detroit Pistons, who, like I said, the Knicks play tomorrow night, they don't worry me. That's a team that has one big-time player in Kay Cunningham, and I don't want to, jinx anything here. All right, I respect Detroit, but Detroit 2 years ago, they set the all-time consecutive loss streak, all right? They were the worst team in the league just 2 years ago. So no way in the world should the Detroit Pistons be beating the Knicks this year in the playoffs. If that happens, the Knicks don't deserve it. The Pistons have Kay Cunningham, outstanding player. Everybody else is a role player. Young role players surrounding Kay Cunningham. Jalen Duren, their big man, he's a really good player as well. I don't want to diminish him, but the Detroit Pistons, the Knicks, if they can't beat the Pistons in the playoff, then they don't deserve to get to the NBA Finals, all right? The Philadelphia 76ers, they are the team to me who give the Knicks the biggest threat, the most problems. The Knicks, I don't think, match up well with the Philadelphia 76ers. The Knicks, I think, have a deeper roster than the Sixers, but I think that the Philadelphia 76ers' top 4 players are better than the Knicks' top 4 players. Sorry to say that, but I believe that Joel Embiid, he's been very injury-plagued. You hear Knicks fans, when I mention Joel Embiid, they're like, bleep Embiid. They're not worried about Embiid. Well, right now, he has been playing the last couple weeks or so. He's been playing regularly, but he's the guy who no one can have much confidence that he will be healthy come playoff time, because he's always hurt come playoff time. When the 2 teams matched up 2 years ago in the playoffs in the first round, Embiid was hurt. And look, the Knicks won that series in 6 games. That was another hard-fought series, just like last year's series against Detroit. If Embiid had been healthy in that series, remember, he played with 1 leg, all right? Mitchell Robinson, our big man, played with 1 leg as well. Julius Randle was out that year. He hurt his shoulder in late January, did not come back. So the Knicks were without one of their all-stars. They still won that series. If Joel Embiid is healthy, the Knicks may not win that series. But now, listen, we know that rivalries are born in the playoffs, so the Knicks had not played Philadelphia in the playoffs before 2 years ago, since 1989. So now, after that playoff series 2 years ago? You're darn right. These two teams have a rivalry, and Philadelphia has enjoyed coming into Madison Square Garden the last 2 weeks and winning 2 games with ease, okay? The Knicks trailed the whole second half last night, all right? They were down by 8 points at halftime, and they did not lead again the rest of the way. Philadelphia, all right, Joel Embiid, he outplayed both of the Knicks' top big men last night, Karl Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, he's been outstanding this year. But Mitchell Robinson, Joel Embiid last night made him look like young Mitchell Robinson. Remember when Mitchell Robinson could not stay out of foul trouble? He would come in the game and quickly get into foul trouble. Well, that was the case last night as Joel Embiid gave Mitchell Robinson a series of pump fakes, moves, and Mitchell Robinson was making bad fouls last night. He was not that good last night. Karl Anthony Towns, somebody who the Knicks rely on to produce every night, give big points every night. Karl Anthony Towns is a multiple-time All-Star, as well as a multiple-time All-NBA player. And he did not have his best game as well, but one thing that he did do that he does every night, he rebounds, okay? I don't feel like he gets enough credit for his rebounding prowess, but the offense was lacking last night. 6 for 16 from the field. He had 23 points, but a very inefficient 23 points, okay? Now, Mikal Bridges is another guy who, a key role player for the Knicks, 5 for 14 last night. OG had a off shooting night as well. Both of them did the last 2 nights. Actually, I think OG might have been 6 for 11. I forget exactly what he shot. It might have been 6 for 11, actually, which is not bad. But here's the thing here, folks. The Knicks, we want to see them win a championship, okay? Yeah, they're a very good team now, but it's about winning a championship if you are a fan of the Knicks. And the Sixers, when they throw out Joel Embiid, who again outplayed the Knicks' best 2 big men last night, Paul George, a multiple-time All-Star, when he is healthy, he is legit. We know that. Playoff P, right? Let's see if Playoff P shows up this year. But the Sixers backcourt is really where the huge concern comes from because Tyrese Maxey and their rookie VJ Edgecombe, these guys have elite athleticism, elite speed, and definitely in Edgecombe's case, elite athleticism. There was a play last night, a sequence in the 4th quarter when the Knicks were trying to rally out of their hole, and Mikal Bridges had a 3 in the corner. VJ Edgecombe runs up, jumps up, blocks the ball out of the air, and then VJ gets the ball, dribbles past everybody, and throws the ball down with 2 hands, all right? Nobody on the Knicks can do that, okay? Nobody. This was a rookie doing that against the Knicks last night. So a lot of concern because Edgecombe and Maxey have now twice in 2 weeks come to the Garden and played outstanding, beat the Knicks. I mean, in the first quarter last night, all right, in the first half, Edgecombe lit it up with big time. And then Tyrese Maxey, we saw what he did against the Knicks in the playoffs 2 years ago, lit it up, all right. He has now, in the last 4 games against the Knicks, Tyrese Maxey has had over 30 points. And he was fabulous. Jalen Brunson, he's the man, the heart and soul of the team. He, all right, did his best to keep the Knicks in it, had 31 points, was 10 for 21. But he does not have that elite speed, quickness, athleticism, the way the 2 guys in the Sixers backcourt have, okay? Mikal Bridges, somebody who we like Mikal. Last year, he left a lot to be desired, but this year he's come back, been very good. But he is not an elite athlete either, not like Edgecombe and Maxey, and you see that when Philly, these 2 guards are going up against our backcourt. So those 2 guards with Paul George and Embiid, to me, that's a better 4 than our top 4, okay? Like I said, the Knicks have a better overall roster. They're deeper. But when it comes to big-time players, Philadelphia, to me, has like 4 all-star caliber players, okay? All 3 of those guys, George, Embiid, Maxey, have all been all-stars in the league. And Edgecombe, it definitely looks like he is going to be an all-star at some point in his career. This, again, his rookie year. The Knicks, all right, Bridges, Anunoby, we like them. They are great players, great role players on the team, but if either one of them ever makes an all-star team in their career, they'll be lucky, all right? That's just being honest, all right? So the Knicks now, I look at Philadelphia, and they are the one roster where I'm like, if they're healthy, which is a big if, because Embiid at any point could fall by the wayside with an injury. Same with Paul George. But I was telling people since last year's draft when Philadelphia, because Embiid and Paul George missed most of last year with injuries, Philadelphia had a horrible record last year, which allowed them to get a high draft pick, number 3 overall. And I heard Kendrick Perkins before this year started. Kendrick Perkins, ESPN personality, former Boston Celtic and other teams, won a championship with the Celtics. Before the year started, Kendrick Perkins on TV said that Philadelphia made a mistake by not drafting Ace Bailey, who played 1 year at Rutgers last year. He said they made a mistake not taking Ace Bailey. Well, Kendrick Perkins is wrong about that because VJ Edgecombe is, he is legit. And I'm telling people since last year's draft that if Joel Embiid is healthy next year, the Sixers are going to be a problem and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, all right? And right now, that's the case. Joel Embiid, something very surprising. Last night, we know he's had his injury issues, has knee issues. Early in the year, we saw him. I mean, the thing with Embiid is that he began the year playing, right? So when the year started, I was like, okay, Joel Embiid is beginning the year playing because his health, his knee, his injury issues, always a question. Don't know if he's going to be playing or not. So when he began the season playing, you thought, okay, well, that's very good for the Sixers. He seems to be healthy. But when you saw him play early in the year, you saw him on the court, he seemed to be kind of sluggish, kind of loping on the court. I mean, not running with a lot of serious agility and quickness and speed. He was lumbering. And then after playing the first 3 games for Philadelphia this year, he missed several games, was out, and would play a game here, then be out again for several games, come back. But over the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's been playing for them. He still missed he's played about 10 of Philadelphia's last 15 games. And when I see him on the court, he looks fine to me. However, last night he had his first dunk of the season late in the game, and I didn't realize it was his first dunk. So that was really alarming. Like, wow, he's only had 1 dunk this season. So clearly he is not his usual self, but he's putting up numbers. I mean, the last week he's put up prime Embiid numbers offensively, all right? Rebounding some, blocking shots. So he's the biggest dude on the court. If he's going to play like that and be available for Philadelphia in the playoffs, along with Paul George, who has been around for a long time. I mean, Paul George, I remember doing a story about Paul George in November 2013 called something like the birth of a superstar, something like that, okay? When Paul George with Indiana came in, beat the Knicks, beat Carmelo in the Knicks. All right, all you Knicks fans love Carmelo, think he's so great. Well, a young Paul George, all right, the spring before that, 2013 playoffs, the Knicks, that was supposed to be their year to get to the Eastern Conference Finals at the very least, where Carmelo and the Knicks could have challenged LeBron for the Eastern Conference supremacy. But, of course, that didn't happen because Paul George and the Pacers outplayed Carmelo and the Knicks and knocked the Knicks out of the playoffs in 2013 in May. Then, that next season in November, to begin the season, the Knicks play the Pacers at the Garden in November, and it was an overtime game. Paul George, I believe, late in that game made a 3 to put it in overtime, something like that. But the Pacers beat the Knicks in the Garden in November, and after the game, I interviewed Paul George, interviewed some of his teammates, did a story on him, and he was, emerging there, and he's had a very good career. He's still playing, still a very good player, and The Knicks, by the way, that November to begin that next season, lost every home game in November that year. That was a debacle of the season. Debacle. To me, that was the most disappointing season in Knicks history, but I don't even want to go there right now. But Paul George is somebody who has been a Knick killer before, all right? He's with Philadelphia, looking to do it again, all right? Maxey and Edgecombe, all right, 4 bona fide all-star caliber players right there. The Knicks have 2. Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. So if Philadelphia is going to be healthy, all right, that's a team that the Knicks have to buckle up for, okay? And the Knicks have played them twice, both at Madison Square Garden, lost twice. The next time these two teams play, 20 days from now in Philadelphia, Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock game, that all of a sudden has become a very big game because you want to see the Knicks go into Philadelphia where they've had success the last 2 or 3 years, and you want to see the Knicks beat them, all right, in 20 days, okay? The trade deadline is about a month from now. So we all have been hearing about Giannis, the Greek freak from Milwaukee, the 2-time NBA MVP, and he led the Bucks to a championship 5 years ago, 2021, their first championship since 1971 for the Bucks. All right, Giannis did that, and Giannis, reports say that he has told Milwaukee since last summer that he wants to be a Knick, which, if you're a Knicks fan, that is music to your ears. And we heard that last summer there was a window for the Knicks in Milwaukee to talk about a trade. But the Knicks, all right, reports say that neither side thought the other side was really serious about it. And then we heard early December that, okay, like we heard all that come out in December of this year when the season was a month and a half in, and the Knicks were playing well, on their way to winning the NBA Cup, and we all said, you know what? Well, some people were like, hey, pull the trigger, regardless, it's Giannis. Most folks said the Knicks are playing very well right now. You can't mess with the roster. You can't mess with it, all right? Well, now a 3-game losing streak currently. They had the San Antonio Spurs on New Year's Eve, Wednesday night, had them on the ropes after beating them in the NBA Cup final, all right? Now, 2 weeks later, they're playing again. Knicks were on their way to getting a big win on the road New Year's Eve against a very good Spurs team who the reigning NBA champion, Oklahoma City Thunder, by the way, cannot beat, have lost to them 3 times so far this season. Knicks were on their way to beating them again, and then the Knicks blew that game, let San Antonio come back in San Antonio, and San Antonio won the game. Very disappointing to end the year off like that. And then the Knicks have 2 home games to begin 2026 and lose both of them the last 2 nights. So, and like I said, Philadelphia has guys who athletically can just blow past the defense, okay? The Knicks don't have a guy like that, all right? As good as Brunson and Towns is, okay, neither one of them are that fast or quick. Brunson is excellent, but he's got to work hard for his buckets, and he gets them. He's tremendous, right? When you're watching Maxey and Edgecombe, though, sometimes they make it look easy with their speed and athleticism. And Towns, all right, outstanding talent. A lot of people get on him for not always bringing it the way folks want to see him bring it. He is very slow foot as well. So the Knicks' best 2 players, all right, they don't have that speed and quickness the way these guys on Philadelphia are bringing it, all right? Do you know who does, though? Giannis does. Giannis is the guy who can get the ball, put it on the floor, blow past guys, get to the rim, bang on the whole team. So now the Knicks, tomorrow night, they face the Detroit Pistons, as I said, in Detroit. And like I said, they've not played this year yet. Pistons have the best record so far in the Eastern Conference by 2.5 games over the Knicks. And by the way, the Boston Celtics are creeping up in the standings. Yes, the Celtics without their best player, Jason Tatum, this year. He's out all year, we think, with an Achilles injury. I mean, he may get thoughts about coming back later in the year with the way Boston's playing, they are now about, I think, a half game or a game behind the Knicks in the Eastern Conference standings. Jaylen Brown scored 50 points last night for Boston against the Clippers. And the Clippers are at the Garden on Wednesday night, okay? They've been playing very well, even though they lost to Jaylen Brown in Boston last night. Kawhi Leonard, he has played as well as any player in the NBA. So that's going to be another test for the Knicks on Wednesday night. And then after that, they hit the road for about 4 games out west. So they have a tough schedule. All right, they're playing like every other night or back-to-back nights right now. I mean, the schedule is coming at them quick right now. And, hey, we have a month to see how they play from here. If things begin to, all right, go the other way for them, the way they're going right now, okay, only 3 losses, don't want to go crazy at all. Because like I said, I look at the Knicks roster, I think in the playoffs, I'm confident that they can beat every team in the East except for Philadelphia if they're healthy. I'm not saying they can't beat them. Clearly they could beat them. But if Philadelphia is healthy, Philadelphia can beat the Knicks, all right? We've seen the last 2 times on the Garden, the Knicks losing to these guys, all right? And Philadelphia is taking great joy in doing that, okay? After losing to the Knicks in the playoffs 2 years ago, for them, very disappointing. The fans were upset. So what do you think, the Philadelphia fans, what do you think their talk radio is like this morning in Philadelphia about their Sixers? After Eagles get ready to go to the playoffs, okay? At the Giants, no hope for that, all right? So they're feeling good right now in Philly about their Sixers. Oh, and Embiid is back now for them. Young rookie Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, playoff P is healthy. They have a championship coach. Nick Nurse won a championship with Toronto in 2019, all right? He got his guys now. He is going to work. He's going to work. So if we have to monitor the situation now, all right? If things start to continue to go how they've gone since the new year, then will the Knicks be on the phone for Giannis? Hey, they will have to if things continue to go the way they're going so far in 2026. Again, very early, only 3-game losing streak. Don't want to go crazy, but the Greek Freak, to me, is one of the top 10 players, arguably, of all time, all right? We won a championship in New York City, right? We won a championship. It's been only, 52 years and counting, all right? 53 years now, since 1973. The only 2 championships in Knicks history, 1970, 1973. That's it. Most of us haven't seen it. And the ones who have seen it, remember how special it was and want to experience it again, all right? That would be the biggest party in New York City if the Knicks win a championship, all right? So let's monitor this tomorrow night in Detroit against the Pistons team who, again, 2 years ago, set the NBA record for the most consecutive losses of all time. Let's see if the Knicks can go into Detroit tomorrow and end this losing streak that is now at 3 games. Now, the NFL. Week 18, Giants and Jets are both a disgrace. They're going to be picking at the top of the draft. All right. Shout out to Jeff Pearlman, a longtime sports writer, was with Sports Illustrated for a long time. I just started following him on social media recently, and he put out a post yesterday, and it was talking about the NFL Hall of Fame finalists, right, that came out, last couple of days, and only 5 guys can make it in. So he was going through the list of NFL finalists. I don't have them right here with me, but I will definitely get into that next week or two. All right, because the guys who are going to make the vote and be one of the top 5, that's going to be released right before the Super Bowl. So I'm going to get into it and go through the list and tell you all who I think the 5 guys should be among the finalists to go in this year. And he quickly, one of the finalists is Eli Manning. He quickly dismissed Eli Manning, which I agree with, all right? And to me, Eli Manning is why the Giants are still sorry now, okay? Because the Giants let him run the team into the ground thanks to all the fans who made excuses for Eli. Oh, Eli. This is the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's not Eli. And they got rid of everybody else. They got rid of all the real talent on the team, all right? They could have had a good team if they just got rid of the quarterback and brought in a competent quarterback the last 8 years of Eli's career. 2012 through 2019, the Giants were rock bottom bad with Eli Manning. And the Giants right there, a losing culture was born. And they still have not come out of that and recovered from that, all right? And who do they have in there right now to quarterback? Oh, a quarterback who came from where Eli Manning came from. What a surprise. Ole Miss, all right, after the previous quarterback, Daniel Jones, he played like Dave Brown. Arguably, the worst quarterback in Giant history, Dave Brown is. Both of them went to Duke. Who else? Who do you know that went to Duke? Dave Brown did. So the Giants, we got to draft a Duke quarterback. They draft Daniel Jones, waste 6 years with him, who's terrible. And then they get, all right, and Daniel Jones had Eli Manning connections, okay? Had the same college coach, all that, but I don't want to get into that. I've been through that a lot. But Jackson Dart, okay, same school as Eli. I was skeptical coming into the year, but you know what? I give Jackson Dart his props. He's very talented. He showed me a lot this year, okay? And Giants, though, only won, 3 games? So, I mean, the Giants are just, you can't make it up because they had the chance to have the number 1 pick in the draft this year. I mean, number 1 pick in the draft, you get that means that you were the worst team in the league. And the Giants, all right, last week against the Raiders, they were playing in a game where the loser would have had the worst record in the NFL and would have been in place to have the number 1 pick in the draft this year. The Giants screwed that up, but of course the players don't care about that. The players don't care anything about the number 1 pick, okay? The number 1 pick could come in and take their job if you're a player. You don't care about that. You want to win if you're a current player. The fans want the number 1 pick. The front office, I'm sure, wants the number 1 pick. Ownership wants the number 1 pick, but the head coach and the players, they want to win because if you had the first pick in the draft, that means you were horrible. Y'all all could be gone, okay? So the Giants actually won the game last week, so that ruined their chance for the first pick. Even if they lose today, though, and the Raiders win against Kansas City, then the Giants would have the first pick. But we all doubt that the Raiders are going to win the game today, okay? Because, all right, their ownership and all that, they want the first pick, and they need the quarterback, okay? And the top quarterback prospect, Mendoza, who plays for Indiana. We watched him on New Year's Day against Alabama in the Rose Bowl, was outstanding. Blew away Alabama. And I've heard talk about, so the Giants, so even if they have the number 2 pick, they'll be in position to draft a quarterback. And you know what? Right now, the second top quarterback prospect in the draft happens to be a black quarterback from Oregon, Dante Moore. You know how I feel. I've always wanted to see the Giants have a black quarterback. They had a good black quarterback, a young black quarterback. They never had that. They never really had a starting black quarterback. All right, I've mentioned, all right, Giants have had less than 10 games in their history with a black quarterback starting, okay? And they, for the first time this year, they came into the season with an official starting black quarterback, right? Because the last couple of times they had a black quarterback start, it was for a handful of games. They were the backup. The backup, one time, Tyrod Taylor came in to replace Eli Manning for 1 game in 2017 when the Giants finally benched Eli Manning and the fans went crazy. The fans were ready to line up outside of Giant Stadium with pitchforks, okay? That's how pissed they were, all right? And the general manager and head coach got fired the next day, okay, because the fans went crazy. The media went crazy. Oh, poor Eli. Giants were like 2-9, horrible. Okay, everybody cried about it when they sat Eli, sorry, not Tyrod Taylor, they sat Eli for Geno Smith, okay? And then that was the one time in like 90-plus years that day that the Giants had a black quarterback starting. Okay, then Eli comes in, starts 2 more years. Giants are horrible again, okay, of course. And then, all right, they had Tyrod Taylor like 2 years ago start a couple of games as the backup to Daniel Jones, okay? And then they came into this year after drafting Jackson Dart with Russell Wilson as their starter, okay? And we knew that Russell Wilson, first of all, I did not even want Russell Wilson on the team as the Giants starter because I knew that he was washed up and that he was not too long for this world, for the Giants world. He was only there just holding a spot until they felt like Jackson Dart was ready to go in and play. So you knew that it was like, what's the point? Like, I want a quarterback to have the chance to be the quarterback for years, not somebody who they're going to have in there to be a placeholder for a couple of games. And that turned out to be the case. Russell Wilson was not very good. He had a good game in week 2 against Dallas, and then next game at home against KC was so bad that they gave Jackson Dart to start the next week in week 4. And I was skeptical because, again, Jackson Dart came from the same place as Eli Manning, Ole Miss, who, by the way, Ole Miss has a black quarterback right now who balled out on New Year's Day. Trinidad Chambliss in the Sugar Bowl, he beat Georgia, a very good team. So, hey, Giants, if you want to get, well, you know what? So he actually succeeded Jackson Dart at Ole Miss this year. But again, you know, I gotta give Jackson Dart his credit. Like, I think he's a good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna hear me campaigning, oh, get rid of him and go get Dante Moore, the black quarterback from Oregon. You know, as much as I would love to see the Giants have a young black quarterback for years, Jackson Dart is good. He's good, okay? And the Giants, if I'm being honest, should not get rid of Jackson Dart, okay? All right? As much as I would love to see the Giants have a young black quarterback, if they got Dante Moore, if they got rid of Jackson Dart and brought in Dante Moore, I'd feel good about it because that would be what I've dreamed of seeing the Giants have since I was a kid. And my dad pointed out to me that there's hardly any black quarterbacks in the NFL because of racism. It was like a couple: Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, Rodney Peete, Vince Evans, okay? That was it. That was it. For years, 80s, 90s, for years, okay? So, like I said, the Giant quarterback, Phil Simms, I love Phil Simms. Phil Simms, to me, is the best quarterback in Giant history, all right? He should have been the quarterback, all right? Kerry Collins, to me, was better than Eli. Kerry Collins was good. Eli got in there. He helped the Giants win 2 Super Bowls. Thank you, all right? But then it was just like, for all those losing years, for years after that, they kept him around, and he should have been going. And I said this before. The Giants, with Eli Manning, lost their accountability at the quarterback position because before Eli, if the Giants had 2 straight bad years or 1 bad year, a lot of times, the quarterback was gone. No excuses. Phil Simms, my beloved Phil Simms, okay, who, as a child growing up, I saw him win the Giants 2 Super Bowls, okay? Unbelievable, all right? After the 93 season, when Giants went 11-5 with Phil Simms, they won a playoff game with Phil Simms, and then after that season, the Giants got rid of him like a bad habit. Why? But then Eli Manning, every year, losing, and they kept him all these years, so that's why the Giants are horrible now, because a losing culture was born with that guy, okay? Great guy off the field, whatever. We see him with his brother, Peyton, on TV. Seems like a great guy. But he should have been going from the Giants a long time ago before they finally got rid of him. And letting him run the team into the ground is why they are still sorry, all right? And people talk about Hall of Fame with Eli Manning, please. So Jeff Pearlman, former Sports Illustrated writer, I commend you, okay, for quickly dismissing Eli for the Hall of Fame, because you're right, 100%, okay? Eli Manning, you compare his numbers to his contemporaries, pathetic, all right? But Jackson Dart, okay, who came to Ole Miss about maybe 20 years after Eli, I guess, right? He's been good for the Giants this year, man. I mean, he was good, even though the Giants only won 3 games. The thing about it is that when Jackson Dart first took over this year, and him and his boy, another rookie this year, Cam Scatterbull, all right? And I got to give him props, too, a lot of props, because he's somebody who, all right, beat the odds, because you don't see a lot of white running backs, okay? You don't. But this guy was phenomenal for the Giants, okay? But then he got hurt against Philadelphia. So when Jackson Dart came in, the Giants beat the LA Chargers, all right, the first game, at home, a good Chargers team, very impressive. Then they lost to New Orleans on the road, right? Then they played the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, at home on a Thursday night in front of the nation, and Dart and Scatterbull were phenomenal. Scatterbull scored 3 touchdowns. I saw Scatterbull make the Eagles defense quit, all right? They did not want any more of him coming at them, all right, with his power. They quit. And the Giants at that point, I mean, Dart and Scatterbull, they brought passion. They brought confidence to the team. Like, those two guys together, they gave the Giants a shot of confidence and belief. And then the next week, after blowing out the Eagles in front of the nation, they go to Denver against a very good Denver team, a very good Denver defense, and they're winning 19-0 headed into the fourth quarter against the Broncos. And that time, I'm telling you, I'm watching the game, I'm like, yo, the Giants, first of all, these two guys saved everybody's job, and the Giants actually have a chance to have a good season now. Like, they could be a good team now with how they're playing with these two guys. All right? And the Giants ended up blowing it in the fourth quarter of that game in Denver. Ended up losing the game. And then the next week, on Sunday, okay, I'm coming back from Toronto, World Series, watching the game, and Cam Scatterbull against the Eagles now, again, in Philadelphia, all right? 2 weeks after embarrassing them in front of the nation, you know Philly, the reigning champions, are laying for the Giants, okay? Laying for them, ready for payback. Scatterbull scores again in the first quarter against Philadelphia, and then, he gets a brutal, gruesome injury to his ankle. That's it for him. Season over. Saquon Barkley, former Giant, had the big game that game against the Giants. Giants get blown out against Philadelphia. Season over, okay? The Giants only won one game, has won one game since then, okay? But Jackson Dart, to me, he's shown a lot of athleticism, showing that he could pass. The Giants can't get rid of this guy, okay? Can't get rid of him. That'll be stupid, all right? I mean, if you draft Dante Moore, hey, and he's playing, we have a black quarterback, a young black quarterback, I'm not going to be mad, but, you know, deep down, if I'm being honest, the Giants would not be smart to mess with Jackson Dart right now, okay? And Scatterbull, hopefully he comes back healthy. Malik Neighbors, the Giants' big-time receiver, he got hurt early in the year. So if Scatterbull and Neighbors come back, look, the Giants, to me, have a lot of talent, okay? But they have a losing culture. They have been bad for so long that there's no belief in that building, in that locker room, that they can beat anybody. But again, with Scatterbull and Dart together, they made you believe anything was possible. But that ended quickly, all right, with Scatterbull's injury. But I think that the Giants, if they can get a good coach, I think they could be a good team next year because they have a lot of talent. When you are bad for years and years and years, and you pick high in the draft, you can accumulate a lot of talent. So they have a lot of talent on the team. Like, to me, no pun intended, they're a sleeping giant right now, you know? So who should the next coach be? All right, well, I'll tell you who I want. To me, the Giants' next head coach should be a former Giant, Antonio Pierce. That should be their next head coach. He reminds me a lot of DeMeco Ryan, the head coach of the Texans right now, who had the best defense in the NFL. Antonio Pierce was a linebacker on the 2007 Giants Super Bowl winning team who beat the undefeated Patriots, okay? And Eli Manning, your boy Eli Manning, gets all the credit for that Super Bowl win. You know who the real MVP of that game was? The Giants defense, okay? Because going into the fourth quarter, Eli's offense had 3 points, okay, against Tom Brady, who had, at that time, an NFL record-setting 50 touchdown passes, all right? Randy Moss had an NFL record, 23 touchdown receptions that year. They had 7 points going into the fourth quarter. The Patriots had not lost a game. They were on the verge of being the first team ever to go 19-0. They could have laid claim to being the greatest team in NFL history, all right? And the Giants defense held them to 7 points, which allowed Eli, who only put 3 points on the board going into the fourth quarter, allowed him to be able to make a few plays in the fourth quarter, a couple of plays, and win the game, okay? and you're telling me he's the MVP of Super Bowl 42? Please, stop, okay? But Antonio Pierce, one of the hearts of that Giant defense, a middle linebacker, he should be the next head coach of the Giants. He was the coach of the Raiders for a year and a half, okay? Now, the first year he took over the first year, all right, in midseason when he fired Josh McDaniel, and the Raiders played well for him. They even went to Kansas City on Christmas Day 2 years ago, beat Kansas City, a Kansas City team that went on to win the Super Bowl that year, okay? So Antonio Pierce's Raiders beat KC because I hear so many Giant fans like, oh, Antonio Pierce with the Raiders wasn't good. He didn't do anything. Listen, that first year he got in there, they played well for him, and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who were at that time the reigning Super Bowl champions, and they won it again that year, okay? AP did that, all right, on the road, Christmas Day against the Kansas City Chiefs. Then the next year, last year, the team was horrible, but the quarterback situation was even worse than horrible. And I tell everybody, God himself could not win with the Raiders in that quarterback situation that Antonio Pierce had. They fired him after last year. This year, the Raiders brought in a Super Bowl winning coach, Pete Carroll, and the team was worse, okay? The Raiders have the worst record in the NFL this year, okay? The worst, with a Super Bowl winning coach in Pete Carroll, okay? So Antonio Pierce, bring him in. He is a leader of men. I guarantee you, you're bringing in Antonio Pierce, that team will have a belief. They will have a head coach who knows about winning culture with the Giants. They will play for him. He'll be a leader. They have talent. They could be a big-time team with Antonio Pierce. Giants and Giant fans, Antonio Pierce, AP, is the guy who should be the next Giant head coach. And that would also signal the first black head coach in Giants history. The Giants folks have been around for 100 years, okay? Let's get it done. But you know what? I feel like my words are going to go on deaf ears, and I'll be surprised if he's the next Giants head coach. Folks, I got to sign off today. That's it. I'll see y'all next week. Samori Benjamin here, WACR Sports. Have a great Sunday. Adios.